Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Moxie Pod. I'm Sonia and this is Sarah. Together we have a cerebral palsy podcast where we have an open discussion about CP, talking everything about it. The challenges, the good, the achievements, and the funny. Let's start building a better mindset together.
Thank you, Sonia, as usual. Perfect. Hello everyone. I've been feeling so refreshed and excited for this week's episode because the past week, I've been dealing with pain. I've been feeling a bit let down, a bit blah, like I haven't been giving my all to this. But Sonia and I have been connecting to more people online, meeting new people, and getting so inspired and motivated. So the next few weeks are gonna be so fun, and we hope you enjoy them. Speaking of guests, today we have a wonderful guest, Brendon from California. Brendon and I have corresponded on Reddit, and he agreed to meet. And we're very happy to have him today. Hello, Brendon. Welcome to Moxie Pod. First of all, I just want to say, I know for me, it's so nerve-wracking every week. You think this will get easier and easier, but it never does. So what I want to know is, how are you feeling about being on the podcast?
I'm feeling great about being on the podcast. It seems like a wonderful opportunity to kind of find a new audience or at least reach a new group of people that I wasn't before because I am the moderator of a Facebook group for adults with CP. I seem like I'm able to reach that group of people, but I do think other platforms like YouTube and podcasts and so on is just a really great way to kind of share my perspective and try to be there for people in another way. And I'm always looking for a way to just help out and spread awareness. So far I've been able to become a moderator for a Facebook group with adults with CP from all around the world. There's about 2.8 thousand members at the moment, so it's quite a bit of folks in a bunch of different time zones. And the thing that I've been kind of focusing on lately and trying to do for the group is to start like a weekly group where those members that might feel like stuck or confined in their home or anything like that, or just lacking like the socialization or the connection with anybody or even folks that are like themselves. I just would like to build sort of a community or a place where they can meet at least once a week because I feel like, as far as me and my schedule goes, I could totally just be happy devoting that time and that effort to if it's only going to be one member or two members, like I'm just happy as long as that resource is there for who can benefit from it. Like we've only done one meeting so far, but it's gone fantastic. There was only one member, but there's quite a bit of interest. So I feel like, to be honest, that's all I'm trying to do is reach those people that can really benefit from it. And if it does turn into being, more personal conversations, less than like a big support group, then I kind of take it as like maybe that is just the way it's supposed to be. And I'm just going step by step, but I really would love for people with CP who might feel alone to have an easy, accessible way to, talk to people like themselves and hopefully get through that not feeling so alone.
That's wonderful. Can you give us the full name so people can look it up? And we'll
Yeah, we'll put
also
it in the
put
link.
it in the description.
The full name, I'll have to look it up and just make sure to
Okay.
verify, but I do believe it is just adults with cerebral palsy. But pardon if this, let me know if this ruins the video quality or anything, but I'm just gonna switch over to Facebook and just check it out really quick.
Okay,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
okay.
thank you.
While you're looking, do you have any other jobs as a moderator?
I do not have any other or jobs as a moderator. Yes,
Uh,
I do have. The most common thing that I help out with the group would be approvals and denials for like requests to either join the group or request to post to the group. It is
Okay.
something that, since it is a private group,
Uh-huh.
we do look for adults with cerebral palsy. So there's a lot of family members that try to join, a lot of like spouses and stuff that would
Uh-huh.
like to join to learn more. But that's not the focus of this group in
Right.
particular.
Okay.
It's more so for adults with CP to see life from
Mm-hmm.
other adults with CP. So it's kind of the main other job would be moderating the people joining the group and what they're
Yeah.
posting. There is kind of a general consensus from all the admins and moderators. We want it to be mutually beneficial and positive, where even if it is sharing a rough part of cerebral palsy or what goes on in life with it, like we would love to keep things helpful and beneficial, even if it is a hard topic. So as a moderator, we kind of will just keep an eye on,
Okay.
commenting and talk back and forth, just so that if somebody does begin to be a little harsh or rude, we can step in and kind of like, hey guys, we're all here to support each other. But I
Right.
will be glad to say that that doesn't happen too often.
Okay, good. I was just about to ask you, do you have to deal with like negative comments often or is it generally positive?
I do think as far as crosstalk within the group and commenting on others' posts, they tend to be kind of nice to each other. But the
Oh, that's
biggest thing where we will encounter like, negativity is within just people sharing their sad experiences. We always do want to find a way to put a positive spin on things. Like I do know in your guys' podcast, you'll talk about a lot of the pain, a lot of the tough things that come with CP, but then you end things on, oh, we're your CP friends and you're not in it alone. We're here to,
yeah.
get through it together. And I think that that's awesome because it's the same sort of attitude where even if rough things are a part of the disability, it's more so about making the most of it because this is the life that we all have.
No, I agree
Yeah.
100% with that. I feel like when you have these rough experiences with CP and like how we were talking about, it can feel so isolating and that you're in alone in this. So like you do have those dark thoughts and dark moments. So it can be so hard to not see the light, but I think that's just such an important thing is that you have to learn that like how you're saying, it's not going to go away. So you really just have to make the best of it and you might as well choose
Yeah.
happiness over just like kind of milking in the horribleness for a lack a better word. I wanted to
Absolutely.
ask you, like in the meeting, like you said you've had one so far. Like what's like kind of the vibe of it? Like what exactly is it? Like what goes
The
on?
vibe of it was awesome. It was just one woman that joined. It was a Zoom meeting, and she was just honestly. I have gotten the consensus that a lot of people with cerebral palsy have yet to talk to somebody else with CP, and
So
for that, it was wonderful to talk to that woman about just regular life and the way that we could be like perceived by others, and then begin to perceive ourselves.
Oh
And it
my
was
god, that's beautiful. Sorry.
wow,
heck
no,
yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so it was really awesome because like it's a wonderful feeling when you kind of go on a vent yourself about how you feel about something and then somebody else is there like, oh my gosh, like I can totally relate. And I thought it was wonderful that my wife was in the room and she was like, oh my gosh, that's great. That girl felt so
Mhm.
seen and heard and understood. And to me, like that's what it's all about. And that's where even if there is one person a week joining the meetings, I will still do them and be glad to do them because that's priceless as far as I'm concerned.
And
Yeah.
Brandon, you know what? I would love to be in your next meeting.
That would be
So
wonderful.
just
Yes,
tell
me
me
too.
on the side, and maybe we'll put it in the episode. Hopefully, I'll be next week or something.
Heck yeah,
So I love
wonderful.
that.
I would love that.
Can you introduce us to yourself and kind of tell us how CP has shaped you and developed you into who you are today?
Of course, my name is Brendon. I'm 26. I'm from Southern California. And CPU has shaped my life in a lot of ways and kind of worked to I looked at it a lot of time like it made my life a lot harder. but I do feel like it added a whole new set of challenges, which kind of made me face a lot of things head on and kind of grow up quickly. And the older I get, I really do look at things like being an adolescent and dealing with cerebral palsy and then all the rebellion that comes with that and wanting to be like, the rest of the majority of people. I do
Yeah.
think in a way it seems like it's kind of served to help me, really mature very quickly and get to a point in life where I'm very focused on making everything that I've been through worth something positive for somebody. And that's where I really do think it's added a whole lot of different aspects into my life in all areas. It's just I can say for as now as an adult that it's served me a good service as far as helping me mature and really want to do a positive thing with my life, whatever that may be.
No, that's so. I. What are like some of the things that you went through, like that made you mature quicker, and then how did you like put a positive spin on all of that?
I feel like as a younger adult or more of a teenager, I went through the whole rebelling stage that a lot of, adolescents do, where you
Yeah.
want to fit in, you want to be cool. And for me, that meant like I wanted to ignore the fact that I had cerebral palsy. And, for me, I just tried to, be Mr. Cool. And addiction was running in my family at the time, in my, you know, location of California, addiction it still is very prevalent, and I ended up just trying to, I'll be like everybody else and try to be like that instead of focus on, tools and things that could help me love myself and really accept the cards I was dealt in life. So I feel like all of that kind of led me to ignore my disability or the outlets to help me and then turn to addiction, which ultimately, like, it did not serve me a purpose besides, you know, wanting to get to the point where I actually could help others. I never really wanted to hurt people or harm people, and that's the point that I got to with addiction is where I felt like if I were to keep going down that path, I would have to be okay causing harm to my loved ones and myself. And it was never my intention. I want to help others. So I feel like all in all, it really has been like just a great like cycle to get me to be an adult and get me to be mature and to really use all the things that I've gone through to like help others because at that like those are all the things that I've compiled to really make me want to give a voice to cerebral palsy and be somewhat of an example to others to be proud of it because there's nothing prideful in hiding from yourself and your disability and stuff like
Oh
that.
my
It's more
god.
it's better to be accepting and kind of loving to yourself, even if they're hard things, than it is to just feel shame in those things. And I feel like that's a major part of what I would like to do with the group is just be that like, hey, look, we're proud to have CP and it goes great. And then be that for other people. So hopefully others can, have an easier time with that.
I feel like I'm talking to Yoda right now. So, in terms of your sobriety, you've been sober for 6 years, right?
Correct, yes.
So, what keeps you staying on track?
I really think that's where it's a lot different with cerebral palsy than with somebody who's just a regular
An
addict.
able body? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean to like, I don't know, differentiate too much, but I do think there's a big difference in like, you still do need to find a pain management
Right.
regimen that works with you. You need to find like a workout and stretching routine so you could get stronger and not be in pain so often and all that. So I think there's a lot that honestly goes into it, but I feel like one of the biggest things that I had to learn the hard way was that I needed to stop complaining to the doctor as far as like, oh my gosh, I'm in such bad pain. Please, like, do anything because at that, like, they'll end up doing anything. Like, I've done lots of surgeries and physical therapies and
Uh,
treatments and stuff. And it's like, at that, I would always end up complaining and complaining until I was given, you know, a strong enough medication or surgery
Yeah.
or something to
Right.
put me out of pain. And for me, it's all been a process of like knowing those limitations where it's like, okay, like the doctor can only do so much, and the other
Right.
half is me loving myself and managing and not keep on looking for something like an avenue that's going to take this away, but just a way to, you know, embrace it and
Absolutely.
still love life with the disability in itself, you know?
At some point, you gotta stop blaming other people for your problem. Even though it's
Definitely.
unfair. Even though it's unfair. You have to do it for yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Definitely.
what you're getting at.
And I do feel like for myself, it was a tough thing to realize that, like, okay, I was also brought up in the idea that like you take medicine from the doctor, it's good for you, it'll help you if you're in pain, you should go to the doctor. As I got older, like I really do think these days, even in sobriety, there was more of a potential to get pain relief and not be addicted through things like CBD or medical marijuana products than there was
Right.
from pain medication and pharmaceuticals, which a lot of them tend to be the same things as like street drugs and heroin and stuff like that. And I feel
Mm.
like
There's so
that's
many.
just something that I feel like people are not, you know, generally informed about because
Yeah.
a lot of people I feel like with disability would consider themselves sober and well because maybe they don't drink or they don't smoke, but it's
Mm.
like here the doctors are giving us very hard stuff just because we're so uncomfortable,
Right.
and it just doesn't seem right. But that's where I'm glad to be old enough at the point of, you know, sobriety and wisdom to where I'm a lot more choosy of what I would put in my body. I'm a lot more picky of like if I were to go to the doctor, I don't ask for pain treatment or anything like that, you know? And that's a big part of it for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're saying this today because someone out there needs to hear this a
Yeah, that there
thousand
are better
Hopefully,
percent.
alternatives. How did you like move from like that mindset of like being so like wanting this pain relief, wanting this, just wanting to get out of everything to like now such a beautiful, seeing everything so beautifully and loving life and embracing it.
I thank you. I feel like with that, the biggest thing for me was to really see the consequences of trying to be pain free and not settling until I was. I feel like for me to be determined to be pain free, whether it's through medication or drugs or alcohol, it would always end up with me being the bad guy or causing some sort of like pain to somebody, whether that's just a bad attitude or a bad demeanor or outlook on life. Because, you know, I had to grow up too and realize that, you know, drugs and alcohol don't tend to make people more grateful for life. It only tends to add on to the
Yeah.
pessimism and the whole poor me sort of a feeling
Yeah.
that can
Mm-hmm.
go along with going with depression, you know, and that's where I feel like it's just been a process of learning what does and what doesn't work for me. And I feel like that's something that I just, as I got older and experimented and grew on my own, I kind of realized like drugs and alcohol really were a big part of what I feel like caused me to be, you know, so negative and so careless. But as a sober, like as myself, you know, even with things like CBD or medical marijuana, I'm very positive, very outgoing, and it really let me see how things like medication and stuff can cloud somebody's true personality.
Oh,
And
yes.
like that's a big thing that's, you know, keeps me going and keeps me positive because like now I love myself. I love what I want to do in this life and for others, so why would I ever settle for anything that would make me, you know, behave poorly?
Yeah.
No, I love that because I feel like alcohol, drugs, they're all temporary solutions, and it's so easy to get caught up in that quick relief, but then you feel 10 times worse. It contributes to that, and you make yourself feel more like that. So, like, what are some like healthier coping mechanisms that you've learned?
I think working out is honestly like that is the hardest, but the number one thing I could recommend to folks with CP, even though it may be hard and you may have to like adapt a lot of workouts to be accessible for yourself. I
Yeah.
do think it's one of those things where it is the only thing that will put our bodies to be stronger and in a better
Yes.
place for the future is to work out now, is to feel that burn and feel that pain and really just get used to it because that'll help you later on in your days and later on in life to not have so many bad days. That and
Mhm.
stretching and just also taking care of your mental health and giving myself time to like relax when I need to relax or say if people are getting overwhelmed just to give myself that break and that courtesy that like, hey, I do need to just, spend time just chilling and relaxing because if I don't, then it tends to cause all sorts of physical, issues with me where my pain will be way worse. I'll be way more tense, way
Yeah.
more spastic, and
Yes.
it's all goes into taking care of myself as far as I'm concerned. Just mindfulness and doing the things that may seem like they take a lot more time and effort because those are ultimately the things that will benefit us the most in the long run, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You gotta put in the work. You can't find the easy way out. When you
In
say that,
today's society, it's like, okay, go to school, get a job. They don't, they don't specify, okay, you need to take care of yourself. And I think that's one of the most important things we're not teaching our children today. Not just work out and exercise, eat well, be mindful, go outside, be in the sun for 20 minutes a day at least. Like,
Absolutely.
I agree with that 1,000%. And it doesn't seem to be the number one thing doctors say to do. They put you on baclofen. They say,
That's right.
it's crazy, and I agree so much. And you know what? Even if you don't exercise now, just do something little. Go for a 5-minute walk and see how you feel. Cause trust me, you'll feel 1,000% better than not doing it. Even if it hurts. Even if you're struggling to breathe the whole time. At least you got it done and you can say, I did it.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
those are the little favors that I feel like we can do for our body and for ourselves to feel better tomorrow and the next
Yes.
day. And that's the way I try to,
There's a lot of
those are the number one things that I can recommend as far as like, maintaining sobriety and pain management and things like that is oftentimes it's more of a preventative measures will keep you from hurting so bad. But once you're in pain, like, it's the sad truth is that a lot of the time the best thing you can do is get up and keep moving
Yes.
regardless. If you have a
Yes.
hard day, I don't know about for you, but if I have pain, if I get up and I shower and I have, a regular afternoon and coffee and, tidy up my house to the best of my ability or myself, like that will end up making me a lot more likely to feel better throughout the day than it would if I were to, do what people would say is just take ibuprofen, take your baclofen, and
Right.
lay down.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a medical fan, so I get it. I take it.
Yeah,
But I don't take it as much as they want me to. I take it the way I feel fit. But I still exercise. I still get out there and try my best. And ultimately, that's what's helping me, not the baclofen. It might
yeah,
hurt I mean, it might help a little bit, but the majority of my success in progressing is exercising and treating my
and your hard
body
work.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I think. the medication can be like a tool that helps, but you can't expect it to carry you. You got to do that yourself. Like it can help mitigate the pain, but you can't expect it to fully fix things. You got to learn to take control of your own actions and take control of your future and getting better. You can't expect there to be like a magic solution, I feel. And when you're so down, it's so hard to want to put in the effort. You just want to snap your
Yeah.
fingers and for it to be better.
Absolutely. And that's where, like, I feel like I wish the answer was a lot more, easier
Easy.
for other folks to listen to and be like, oh,
Yeah.
great, yeah, we'll do that. But a lot of the times it is just, you have to continue trying and just do your
Yeah.
best. And step by step, the more you pour into yourself, the better you'll feel.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted to ask you if this isn't too personal.
Of
Has there
course.
ever been moments when you were sober where you kind of got tempted to go back or?
I feel like, as far as I'm concerned, is it was a gradual process that once I quit things that I quit, I was done with them. As far as, like, I feel like addiction and potential to relapse, the hardest thing for me was alcohol, because everybody drinks alcohol.
Yeah.
It's so accepted, even throughout the cerebral palsy forums and stuff. I
Right.
would see a lot of people like, hey, I'm loosened up after a couple of drinks. I don't hurt so bad.
Yep.
And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, I had to realize the hard way that I, like, through lots of time and, trial and error, I was kind of chasing the same thing that I was with the diazepam or like Xanaxes with the alcohol, which is just to loosen you up and give you
Mm,
that, like, muscle relaxation thing. But I
Right.
do think in the same way that, like, things like diazepam or Xanax cause people to misbehave. I think alcohol does the same thing. And
Absolutely.
I lost a brother going on 3 years ago now. I lost my oldest
oh,
brother to alcohol, and mostly to alcohol, but alcohol and drugs. And I do think that that kind of put the nail in the coffin where I was like, oh, like, I don't, I don't know. I don't want to misbehave and then have people remember me for my behavior while I was drinking alcohol. And it really did, like, I don't know what it was about that, because I really did struggle with, alcohol and trouble quitting it or wanting to stop. But once my brother passed away, it kind of really did solidify, like, I don't have any more cravings. I don't have, like, anything but, like, sadness when it comes to drugs and alcohol, because it's like I do kind of now view it as a self-worth issue, as far as, like, why do people settle for that? You know what I mean?
mm,
Yeah. I never mentioned this before, but my brother.
I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry. He OD'd.
I'm sorry to hear
When I
that.
was 9 years old. So
Oh,
Oh my God, a young kid should never.
my
yeah.
condolences. That's so rough.
So I know what you're going through. That's what I'm
I'm
trying to
so
say. And
sorry.
yeah, drugs are not the way, let me tell you.
No, they
And
cause so much pain.
at least set you home and your
It does.
family as well. So
Mm,
I'm so
Definitely.
happy that you saw the way out and you went for it. You know.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Really appreciate that. And my condolences.
yeah,
That's literally, losing a sibling is one of the roughest things I feel like people just aren't supposed to go through.
no, you
It
should
is.
never have
It's
to say that.
it's unimaginable until it happens. And then
Right.
it happens and then you're like, what do I do now? You
I'm
know.
so sorry.
It's
Yeah.
it's tough, but anyways, sorry, I did not think
No,
I
don't
was
be
gonna
sorry. I appreciate
No,
it.
that's being emotional. Don't be sorry. Thank you
No,
for
I'm
sharing
sorry.
that. No,
But
don't be.
anyways,
I just
well,
think
go
that,
ahead, sorry.
yeah, sometimes people, like the pain is temporary, and that's so easy to forget. When you feel
Mhm.
that pain, it feels so permanent, even though you know it's sometimes temporary. it's so hard to believe that it's not. So you turn to these things, but you gotta look at the bigger picture, how you're affecting yourself, how you're affecting others. And even if there seems like there's nobody who cares for you or loves you, I promise that if when you do that shit, like, it really does impact someone, even if you don't think it is.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Um,
100%.
I
I wanted to ask earlier, you talked about like how you would, like you and the woman talked about like how you perceive yourself, how others perceive you. How did others perceive you, and did that shape how you perceived yourself?
I feel like one of the most common things that I've myself experienced, and then I've talked to others with CP that have, sadly experienced the same thing, would be people talking to us like we have mental disability
Yeah,
because it's obvious we have cerebral palsy, and it's like it's very hard to not feel like some type of way or even offended because like
right.
it's one of those things I would tell my wife that it would happen when we got together, and she was like, "No, I don't believe that. Like, people won't talk to you like a kid." And until it happened, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, they really like they think you're like a little kid," and it's
right.
almost hilarious, but it's honestly it's really offensive at the same
It
time.
is.
It's really offensive. I get it a lot because of my voice. Like, if I don't talk, people just assume, normal. But as soon as I do talk, they're like, take him back. And I talked about previous. But I will say, even though they think you have a mental or intellectual disability, it doesn't even matter because they are still approaching you like you're less than. And even if
Yeah,
I did have an intellectual disability, you're still treating me less than, the adult that I am. You can't approach
yeah,
someone and just assume you
I
need to dumb it
100%
down.
agree.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's where I've kind of come to the conclusion, like, ignorant people will make ignorant assumptions, and it's
Mm.
Yeah.
kind of their loss because they will never get to learn anything you have to say or offer or anything. But at the end of the day, I do try to keep it in mind as like, oh, that person's lost. You know what I mean? How it must be to be so ignorant. But again, it's not to feel better than anybody else. It's just
No.
to not internalize the
Mm-hmm.
rude treatment that you're getting
Yeah,
from other people.
exactly. We're not like exactly. It's just like just talk to me like you would talk to your friend or just someone you had like the decent amount of respect for. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking you to kiss my shoes. Just talk to me
Yeah.
like you would anyone else.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of times it does seem kind of like unspoken of because people still continue to do it, or you'll go to
Right.
get help. I know you guys are ladies, so there may be a different term,
Right.
but for a boy, it's hey buddy, hey bud, like let me help you out, buddy, and then it's like Jesus, this man's like talking to me like I'm a little kid. But I'm
Yeah.
honestly, it's gotten to the point where I am kind of used to it, and
Me
I
too.
am willing to just put up with treatment from others that I probably ought not to. But it's like at that, what are you gonna do? Argue with somebody that you're a grown up and must be treated like it? It's kind of a funny situation. But
Yeah, it's
at
not even
that,
right.
like it's
Yeah.
easier to deal with as I get older, you know?
It's
Yeah, I feel
funny.
like
Sorry, Sonia. Go ahead.
I feel like when you're younger, things affect you more. Like how we were talking
Yeah.
about in adolescence, it's like because you're still growing yourself, you still have all these insecurities, and when you see these other people say all these things or treat you this way, can't, you keep internalizing it, and you think, oh, they said it, so now that must be true, or you feel this need to rather prove themselves wrong and like argue with them, like, hey, no, this, and like fight for the respect or whatever, but like someone like that, is it really worth trying to prove yourself to them? You should know your worth and that you're worth it, and you don't need
Yeah.
validation from someone like that.
Absolutely.
You're
I
so
must say,
wise.
with all that being said, that I think there's like also there was a time and there was a bit that I feel like it did make it harder for me to reach the point where I was willing to like record myself and post videos of myself or like feel confident in like that it's good. I feel good about myself where I take pictures and I feel good about myself. Because I do think after years and years of like that treatment, it does become sort of like you begin to judge yourself and really focus on the
Yep.
things that come from your cerebral palsy more than you do the good traits. Where I would record,
Yes.
me talking and having like a video like this, and it would be very hard. I would focus on how much I'm shaking the camera, how much I can't stay steady, or how I talk. I would think I sound like that would be the whole like spotlight of everything to me would be,
Right.
oh my gosh, look at how I talk, look at how I'm moving, look at all the shaking. Like it'd be just all the focus to where I wouldn't even want to do it. But then ultimately, I do feel like it's just chopping it up to like bad treatment should not be internalized. It doesn't do us any good to hold on to like those things. But I will say that's how, in answer to your question, as far as like how did people treat me and how did it like affect, I think it's that. I think it really does do, no favors for our confidence to be treated
Right.
such a way. But I think it is one of those things where as you grow older, it's easier to not be offended by other people's opinions and stuff like that.
Yes, we talk about that on the show all the time, and yes, I have the same issues. Um, I'll post stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get so much hate. They're gonna be so cruel to me, and
Oh,
they never are. I mean, maybe they are, and they'll post it, but still, it's it's all in my head. At the end of the day, it's all in my
yeah,
head.
yeah,
I
it's very. Oh, what's that? I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's good to be able to at least recognize, when we're
Yeah.
being judgmental to ourselves, so we could like not let that stop us from doing stuff that we should.
No, I think the
Good.
first step is definitely recognizing it because then you can work on it. And it's like so hard because when you get in these things, you realize that like you're also scared of what you think they think, not what they think, because you don't know what the hell they're
Yeah,
thinking. It's
Yeah.
all what you're thinking that they think. And it's like our head can be our greatest tool, but then our greatest enemy. And it's just so hard. Once you recognize it, then it's like the next step is to actually do something about it, which again, I feel like you've won half the game when you actively like, try doing something about it.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
when I walk into a room, it's either I don't care what they think or oh all these people are judging me and this girl saying this and this guy saying this. It's never let me just walk into this room. It's never that. It's either I have to put on this armor of I don't care, or I'm making assumptions about everyone I see based on nothing with myself.
mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely, and I feel like honestly that's a really rough thing to have to deal with. But I think that's why it's really important and special that you're willing to share how you feel because there are other people that probably just deal with that every day, everywhere
right.
they go, and they've never heard anybody else talk about it. And
Yes.
that's where I feel like you guys are doing a great job in bridging like that gap or that need for other people to be
Mm,
that voice.
Yeah,
thank
because
you,
I feel like a
Brendon.
lot of things are taboo to talk about, or not even just
Yes,
taboo, there's shame around it, or it's embarrassing. But those are the things where people feel alone, and just talking about it, even if it may not help their circumstances or immediately like, get rid of the thoughts or feelings, but it's just comforting to realize, hey, this is not an original this experience. This is not unique to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why already a big fan of your guys' stuff. I'm
Oh,
definitely
Thank
gonna
you.
make it something for me to check off my list to finish all your guys' podcasts because
you're
the
Wow.
making
work
me
are
blush.
so great. I was gonna say as well, I would love for it if either of you guys would also in the future. I have plans to do like workouts to make videos working out or groups where hopefully people want to join and stretch or work out or just hang out. If you guys would ever want to join or collaborate on some videos or stuff,
Oh, we could
I
totally.
would love the company and the help. But also, I will be sure to let you guys know the link for tomorrow's meeting, and hopefully we could get
Oh
that out
yeah.
there too, just so people can connect with one another. And ideally, I would just love for this to be something where, say, years down the line, like even if we may not all have the time to be logging in and being there devoting time to it, I would just like the resource to be there and people to be more open and comfortable sharing their own lives and how things are for themselves, you know what I mean? Because even though cerebral palsy is a little bit more rare than other conditions,
Yeah.
it's not so rare that there isn't anybody to connect with. There does seem
Right.
like there's quite a bit of folks. Like even the fact that in the Facebook group that you guys had never heard of, there's 2.8 thousand. That's a good amount of people to me.
Yeah.
And then I'll see in Reddit there's quite a bit more. And
Yeah.
that's where I do think like hopefully we're just planting seeds to make things easier on the future people or the people that haven't had that support. And I really do think like that's what it takes. And to be honest, it does make me very happy. Even like just talking with you guys and having the meeting where there was just one woman in there, it feels great. And that's where I'm not too focused on the numbers or how many people it reaches. As long as it makes a difference to somebody, it's a very fulfilling thing to devote our time to.
Yes, I
Yeah.
completely agree. We're coming out of the woodwork, okay? Slowly but surely, we're coming out. But I wanted to ask you one more question because it's about time to go. But you're working toward your degree, and what is it, and what do you hope to accomplish with that?
I'm working towards, I would like to end with a degree in psychopharmacology, which
Wow.
would be that degree kind of ends up working in a lot of clinical trials and clinical stuff where you either approve or disprove different medication and like methods to help people's mental health, where it's like they have ideas and they have things before, like say that before the FDA approves you need to begin like clinical trials and research. I would like to be the one doing the research so that new treatments and new things that probably won't be so hardcore could be made to help people like say with pain, with like chronic pain, with things like depression, addiction, things like that. I just think that'd be very interesting and I feel like it's something that I just am fascinated with. I could learn about all day. But I do think as I progress through school and get more and more degrees in psychology, I'm kind of beginning to wonder if I would rather prefer to be more of a one-on-one counselor because that seems very fulfilling. I feel like I do have high hopes to help in a like medical sense as far as like pharmaceuticals or like pharmacology goes. But then I wonder if me being the type of person that I am might be a lot more fulfilled with that one-on-one interaction and just getting that instant gratification of
Yeah.
seeing and knowing that I'm
That's
helping
true. It's so
one
rewarding.
person, you know?
You seem
Mm.
like a very empathetic person. Would you
Yeah,
say
you
that's
do.
I
the
would
case?
definitely say so. I
Yeah.
think cerebral palsy has definitely, in my opinion, made it a lot harder to not have empathy for other people or put myself in
Really.
their shoes. I don't know what part of CP that's from, but I kind of think it's because I maybe I wonder if if things would have been easier if people really would have put themselves in our shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it definitely is like second nature to me to try to, empathize with people and
Me too.
really just be there. I feel like that's our jobs as people is to just do our best to put each other in each other's shoes so we can help each other out best we can.
I
Right. I feel
love
like
that.
you might as well be empathetic because it's like by trying not to get someone, it's like you're causing them pain and you're just coming off wrong. And it's like when you're empathetic, you really can understand someone and you learn their experiences. And I think it's such a cool thing to like how you're talking about ignorant people, not limit yourself into this world where you just surround yourself with people like you or assume everyone's like you and you don't want to know difference. And also another thing that I did want to say is I like how you said, oh, maybe you might go on to like one-on-one like counseling, I guess. And I think like that's really cool because almost to me I feel like human connection is like the best form of medicine ever. It's
Mhm.
rejuvenating, it produces
Mm.
dopamine. At least that's how I feel. For me it's way more fulfilling than like any medication has ever made me feel. But I think it's really cool if you do go down the medication route, maybe you will develop a novelty that will actually be more effective and maybe healthier than what we currently have.
Absolutely. And I do think you reminded me and made me think of a good point that I didn't bring up as
Oh,
far as
what?
like what are my tips as far as staying well and sober and
I would love to.
maintaining is I think therapy is a huge thing that
Mm-hmm.
everybody should be doing therapy, but I think especially people with cerebral palsy should have therapists and people to talk to because you're completely 100% right that, like, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of prescriptions could be replaced by support and therapy. You know what I mean? It's that human
Yes.
interaction is so important, and I feel like that's part of what drives me to want to make the groups and interact with people like you two is because it's like having that sort of real human experience and kind of understanding is priceless. There's not a book we can read that kind of provides that for somebody. So that's why I really do hope with all this like effort we're putting in and the little bits we leave behind, other people can pick up the tools that we found that work for ourselves and just make the most of life because I do think we all need therapy, but I can say for me in particular, like therapy has been a wonderful process for
How
me.
long have you been going for?
How long have I been going to therapy for? I started probably probably like 6 years ago, and I went for like 2 years. Like I went some myself and some with my wife. It would be like couples counseling where we would both have like independent counseling, but like together and back to back, which was kind of neat. But
Mm.
that's been something that like I don't need to do so often anymore. But
Okay.
it's something that's still there. If I were to have a
Yeah.
bad day, I could always call a therapist and talk to them about my problems, which I just think is again like another great tool to have for when things get tough to help us so we're not alone. Because at the end of the day, although like CP friends are priceless, I do think having somebody like trained in what are some of the
Professional.
best, yeah, what are the best tools to get inside of your head and change your way of thinking. Like that's also another priceless outlet for us to have. So I would definitely recommend along with like stretching and exercise, like getting therapy is a huge part of taking care of our mental health so that we don't deal with more physical consequences.
Yeah,
I
what would you
agree.
say if you are comfortable, like some of the techniques that you've learned in therapy to help kind of reframe your train of thought and your thought process?
I think the number one thing that both me and my wife, who's able-bodied, have like both been like, you know what, wonderful is they call it cognitive behavioral therapy, where you try to like
Yeah.
intervene in your thought process and ask yourself, like, why am I thinking this? Why do I have this thought that and sit there and ponder it and kind of like try to change the outcome of it. So if you're used to feeling like, okay, you make a video of yourself and then you look at it and you're like, oh, dang, the way I talk, the way I look, like, delete, like, get rid of this. It's the process of learning to stop yourself and ask yourself, okay, I feel this feeling. It's really hard. Why do I feel that way? And what does that do to me? And how can I, if I were to, instead of going along with what I usually do the opposite thing, how would that work out? And I think that's a pretty basic overlay of how that sort of therapy works, but that's kind of what me and my wife found just tremendously beneficial because we're all people and we can all get wrapped in or stuck in just, a cycle of letting things be one particular way. And I feel like that's the thing with cerebral palsy is we're all growing and learning to love ourselves every day, even when we get better and better at it. It's an ongoing process. And I don't know, I feel like that's where therapy is. I don't know if I would ever stop therapy. I think everybody should always have a therapist on hand because it's all about what you need at the time. But I will say, like, for people with CP, the number one thing I would recommend, like, therapeutically, is just to be nice to yourself. And I feel like that was a huge thing, like, having been told by a therapist that kind of, like, served me a good purpose was to remember to be nice to myself. And I feel like that's something that's really hard to do when your body gives you such a hard time.
Yeah, it
Right, it's
really
like the
is.
most basic thing, but also the absolute hardest thing to do. Like,
Right.
just.
Totally.
You
Yeah.
have to be your own best friend. I feel like you can have all these people in your life, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's always with you. You're always going to be there for yourself. You can't really count on other people for your happiness. They can help you, but you can't put all your energy and all your happiness in them and have your mood like be depend on someone. I feel like that has to come internally from you and only yourself. And so you really like have to think like, "Oh, what would I tell this person in this situation?" and act like as if that like not as if it's yourself because it's so much easier to be kinder to someone else than yourself if you get what I mean.
That's right, 100%. Like, I feel like that's where it sounds a little backwards, but sadly that's where it is it's a lot easier to be kind and show empathy to others and what they go through than ourselves sometimes. And that's where I think you made a great point right there. I did want to say as well, if you guys would like, I'm not sure if I've shared my Facebook with you guys or any of the social medias, but I would love to keep in touch with you guys and
Oh,
follow your
please.
podcast and your
Of
journey and
course.
everything.
And we will also post all your stuff so
Yeah,
everybody can follow you.
we
Because
want
I
everyone
know they'll love you, they'll want to know more, they'll want to know more about the Facebook
to join
page.
the
And of
meetings.
course, yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. One more question before we go. It's a little
Alrighty.
personal. It's a little personal. I know you and your wife have been married for a couple years now.
Yeah.
Okay, do you plan on having kids one day?
I think okay, so there was, big news in that department is like nobody really knows, so I guess will be kind of an announcement is we had a positive pregnancy test today. So,
Today?
Ah,
yep, we got one
wow.
on the way, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
Congratulations!
That is
Thank you
Wow!
so
guys.
exciting. Oh
That
my
is
god, I wish
so
you the best in
crazy.
this journey.
Yeah.
Are you nervous about being a parent? Excited?
I'm
What's
honestly, it's one of those things where me and my wife just this last year had been through a miscarriage. So it
oh my
does kind of seem like in a way
god.
hopefully it'll be, our
Yes.
pot of gold at the end of the
It
rainbow
will
sort of
be.
a thing.
There's always
Uh,
rain before the rainbow.
Yeah,
Miscarriages are very common. They're very taboo to talk about. I've had
yeah,
miscarriages. You know, just if you want it, just keep trying. That's what
that's
I
right.
say. If
Like
this one,
everything we had to
and
work
it's
for.
fun to do, right? So
That's right.
you
Yeah,
go.
100%.
Yeah, there you go. More
um.
fun workout.
So thank you
I
so
just
much.
wanted to
Oh, sorry.
ask,
We'll
like,
cut
in
that.
general, like, what's like one like you've given so much good advice, so much inspiration. So, but like, what's like one last thing would be like your piece of advice to anybody?
I was just saying to love yourself. I feel like I sound like a broken record with
So do
that
I.
one, but I think just love yourself, embrace yourself in your body because you only have one. It's not like we hate ourselves as much as we want. We don't turn into somebody else. You just gotta love yourself now. Make the most of it because there's not a time machine or any way we can go back and love ourselves now. You know what I mean? So just love yourself now, today, and give your all into things, and it'll be okay. Yeah.
That's right, you heard it here. Love yourself.
Right, loud and clear.
Said Brendon. Okay,
Okay.
well, I think we're gonna wrap up now. But I want to say Happy Mother's Day because we're posting this on Mother's Day. So I want to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom, my aunts, and my sister-in-law Michelle. I don't know if they're gonna watch, but I just want them to know I'm thinking about them. And so we're gonna.
Happy
And the,
Mother's Day to you, Sarah.
oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
true.
Thank you
Addie's
so much.
lucky.
Thank you. Alright, guys. Well, we want to be a voice for the CP community, offering our experiences, insight, and advice. We want to help anyone feeling alone. We are your CP friends. Hopefully, along the way, we can change the narrative on CP one show at a time. And we want to thank Brandon for coming. Thank you so much. This
It's
has
my
been
pleasure.
a wonderful
So enlightening.
conversation, and I can't wait to post it because I know everyone will love it. So thank you again.
Thank you guys so much. I look forward to hopefully, talking to you guys again in the future, or having
I
you
would
for
love to.
groups or anything. You guys have definitely made a big old fan out of me.
Oh,
Well, thank you
thank
so
you. And we're
much.
a fan of what you do.
Thank you
Alright.
guys. I really appreciate you both having me and all of your time.
No, thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time and your openness. Wow.
My
Alright.
pleasure.
Bye,
Thank you guys.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.